Okay, welcome back to PALS TV, everyone. That first segment was terrific, and we're going to follow that up with a perfect segment here. It's a great follow-up with the Memorial Day weekend and the celebration of our heroes and our country and the history behind this great nation. So the last few weeks, we've been fortunate enough to have Ed Cromley on here doing wonderful segments, and each one gets even better and better. So we're so happy to have him. We couldn't be more appreciative of his time. So live from Gallia County, we have Brooke and Ed.
All right, Ray.
Hey guys, welcome to PALS TV. Yesterday was a very special day. It was Memorial Day, and so I'm going to hand it over to my grandpa, Ed Cromley, and he'll tell you a little bit about the American flag.
Okay, let's all say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Come over here. Boys, come on, stand over here so we can say the pledge. Line up along this area here.
Come on, Rim and Romy.
Pledge. Come on. We'll play with these later. Come on. Show respect to the flag. Come on. You're welcome. Now, when you say the pledge, you put your right hand on your heart. That's your left hand. So put that down. There's your right hand right there, up high. Okay. Rylan, you ready to start us? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good job. Good job. Good job, Rylan. And now let's go ahead and have the national anthem sung by Reagan Price.
Oh, so can't you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars to the perilous fight. For the ransom we watch were so proudly gleaming, and the rocket's circle of our bursting and air gave proof to the night that the flag was still there. Oh, and yet waved for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Woo!
Thank you, Ray. You know, when we're talking about because the flag was over Fort Sumter, and the battle was through the night, and they won. Next morning, whose flag was over that fort? Fly, land of the free, of the brave. And today it does still. Very important holiday. Memorial Day, people that were killed in service to the United States in the Army and the Navy and the Marines and the Air Force and all the other groups that we have. The flag is to be at half staff. So the procedure for that is that you raise the flag clear to the top and then you lower it halfway down. And that stays that way until noon. And then at noon, you raise it all the way up. So that's a particular way that the flag is to be done on Memorial Day. We have some flags standing here on post. We have the first flag, well known, people call it the flag, but it is really a 13 star. But notice the stars are in a circle. The stars have 5 points because General Washington wanted it that way. I call him General Washington because he was not president at that time. The other flag that I have out here for display is the 50 star. This is the flag that we fly today. And you see it's got 50 stars, and they're in a rectangular type of pattern. So that's the ones you see at different locations where the flags are displayed. But we've had a lot of different flags through the history of our country. Even before the Declaration of Independence, there were flags that were made in 1775. One was from New England that had a pine tree as the main feature of that flag. There were others that would have stripes. One had a snake on it called the Do Not Tread on Me flag. There were ones that were just stripes. And then they started adding different parts that are called the field. The blue part of the flag is called the field. And the first part that was filled in the field was the Union Jack, which was the British flag. That was put in the corner, and then the stripes were put as you see them today. At the beginning of the war, we did not think we would be America separate from Britain, but the people that were living there thought we just need to get some things adjusted and still be British citizens. Well, it came to the point that that's not going to work. And so because it didn't work, that's when we went through things like the Betsy Ross flag, where we did away with the British influence and became Americans. There have been a lot of different designs. We see the circle of the 13 star, the rectangular shape that we have the 50 star flag in. There were a narrow band of flags, a broad band of flags, and then another narrow band. There were circles of different kinds, different rectangles through the years. There were some different color variations. There were, instead of having white stripes, you would have blue. Instead of having the white stars, they would be blue or red. And then there were some what I'm going to call novel type of flags. And one had semicircles, a couple stars in the corners, and then the number 76 for 1776 that we declared independence. Every year, we have the opportunity to accept new states into the Union. It hasn't happened for a long time, but the 4th of July, following the admittance of a state, we could add another star to our flag. The last one was for the addition of Hawaii, and we kind of like having Hawaii as a state. It's a great vacation place, but it would then make the 50th star. Before that, Alaska with 49 stars. So whenever they decide to have a different number of states, they have to come up with a different design to put those states in as represented. Ohio is the 17th state admitted to the Union, and there was no particular flag that had 17 stars on it. They didn't get this protocol going until after they had 20 states in the Union. So it went from 15 stars and then skipped clear to 20 instead of going from 49 from Alaska and 50 when the next Hawaii was added. They didn't have that in the works. And so Ohio doesn't have a 17-star flag that they can say, hey, this is the flag that flew when we were admitted to the Union in 1803. They didn't do that until 1820. Now, I am standing in West Virginia right now, and we were the 35th state, and it was during the Civil War that we were admitted. And so there is a flag that has flown over our country with 35 stars. So we have that, and any of these flags you can fly legitimately. if they've been adopted by the United States. So if you were in West Virginia, you wanted to fly a 35-star flag, that would be legitimate to do. In Ohio, if you thought that 20-star flag meant something to you, then you could fly that, and it's just as good as flying the 50-star flag because they have been accepted. Now, if there's some other design that wasn't accepted by the United States, that wouldn't be valid. But that is the protocol, is those accepted flags can be used. I have some flags here today that have been folded up in the proper way, and we will fold some flags here with two of my grandchildren in a little bit. But these flags are folded into a triangular shape, and that's the way you should keep them if you don't have them on a flagpole or if you don't have them hung someplace.
And why is that? What are the rules behind folding a flag? Like, why do we do that?
There is a saying, and I don't know it, but there are 13 folds it takes to fold up an American flag, and it is repeated by those who know it when they do it, that what our flag stands for. And it stands for a lot of virtuous things, if I could just categorize all these things. For the mothers of soldiers that have defended our country. And even today, the ladies that have gone out to defend our country, things have changed over the years.
So you wouldn't want to see a flag just thrown down, or aren't there even rules about flag touching the ground?
Yeah, the flag is never to touch the ground, so you have to take care in changing a flag off a flagpole outside. That you should have some assistance from someone who they could guard the bottom of the flag with and make sure it doesn't drape into the ground, because they're pretty long. You know, the typical flag size is 3 by 5, so that 5 feet is kind of hard to take care of whenever you're at the other end trying to snap it onto the rope. So yeah, it's always good to have at least one other person with you as you raise the flag. As we mentioned, raising the flag, you want to do it briskly. You don't want to do it slowly. Now, I've been to ball games and people kind of try to raise the flag as the anthem's being played. And the national anthem takes about a minute or so to be played. Of course, different bands might do it at different tempos, but it needs to be taken up briskly to the top. And again, if it's a half mast thing, take it up the top and go down to where you're at half mast. But you know, some people try to get the flag up the top when the last note of the song is played, and that's really not appropriate. It should go up very quickly. I have pet peeves, and one of them is when you have great ball games like the Super Bowl or something, and they get all these kids holding the flag flat out in the middle of the field. That's really not supposed to be done. The flag is supposed to be vertical. It's not supposed to be held out flat, but somehow people decide to do that. I have a little illustration here that I drew up. This is the Grand Union. That's what that looks like. And this is the British flag made small in the Union side there. And that was when we still thought, hey, maybe we got a chance to be part of Great Britain again if they'll straighten up. And I've got some terrible drawings here. This one tries to represent the 13 stars in a circle.
Okay.
And then at the bottom is a flag that was used in 1795 to 1880. And the particular thing about this is that instead of having the 13 stripes, they added 2 new states and they had 15 stripes.
Okay.
That's the only time that they went away from the 13 stripes, because the flag designers realized that this could really get out of hand if you added the stripe for every star. So the stars you can maintain in the corner here in the Union, but they went back to 13 stripes for the flag that Ohio was recognized in.
Okay.
And it's been that way ever since. Displaying flags, I fly a flag every day. We have an all-weather flag, and we light it in the nighttime, so that's legitimate. You don't want to fly a flag if it's not lit at night.
And why is that?
It should not fly in the dark.
Okay.
It should always be visible to whomever goes by. And I know that schools back in the day, they would have youngsters who would have the duty of in the morning raising the flag, and just about the time school was let out, they would take the flag down, as there wouldn't be anybody to do it later on at dusk. But that tradition probably has fallen to the wayside, not because we're not as patriotic, but because we light the flag at night so it can stay out all the time. Also, back in that day, they probably had cloth flags instead of the all-weather flags that we had. They're made of a combined material that can shed the water and they don't get damaged. Those schoolboys would not have to raise the flag if it's going to rain at them, because it would be a cotton flag, and that it would be very, very difficult to dry it out, and it would make the flag not last as long. Again, having a wet flag is not what you want to have. You want to have a flag that's real presentable.
Now, I know you're a part of the West Virginia State Color Guard. And when I think of color guards, can someone start a color guard? I was thinking about PALS and my friends there. Like, is this something that different PALS communities could even like establish maybe a color guard, and then they could be responsible, like you were saying, for like taking it out in the morning and taking it in at night, taking care of the flag basically, and even maybe doing like the Pledge of Allegiance and those sort of things? Is that something, if you guys were interested, you can give a thumbs up?
Yeah.
But is that okay? Like, there's all these rules, about making sure. So as long as they were taking care of it, then it would be something they could do when they get back.
Yeah, any act toward the flag that is honorable and exemplifies the good part of our country, any of that is appreciated. Talking about pet peeves, I've got another one. When we are a color guard and we walk down the street in a parade, people are to stand. You either place your hand over your heart like you're doing the pledge as the flag goes by, or if you are a military veteran or currently in the military, or a first responder like a policeman or a fireman, there can be a saluting protocol that you would go through. But everyone put their hand over their heart. The sad thing is, in parades, you see people that are sitting on the curb and they won't get up. You see people that are there just to get the candy that's thrown out with their Walmart bags, and they don't know to stand up. And if Daddy doesn't stand up, little Junior doesn't stand up, and then grandkid down the road doesn't know to do it either.
So a lot of this stuff is it is saying the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning at school. I know some schools maybe have eliminated that. Then we would lose knowing the pledge, or learning how to put your hand over your heart. Which hand do I use? Those sort of things. If we don't teach them or keep them going, then what happens? We just kind of lose it. So yeah, that's another thing. Even our PALS friends and community could be a part of actually leading and teaching some of that. So that would be a great idea. Okay. If you guys like that, give me a thumbs up. We can maybe even come in and teach a little bit about that. Okay. What else we got?
In our color guard activities, we always have protection, and the flag sometimes stand on the right side of the flag. So if anyone, and this doesn't happen, but just the protection of the flag, the respect of the flag, we have a way to defend it.
Okay.
But we also have other guys that would carry muskets for Revolutionary War. If you would see the current American Legion, you'll see them, either they'll carry their swords or they will have rifles that they use currently. It's part of our, we like to keep doing muskets.
So that is about protecting the flag and making sure. So if someone were to try to attack it or take it, you're representing that you're
being patriots, is that we just don't go out and randomly put a flag on fire. And typically what's done is somebody is dissatisfied with something about the government, and so they want to burn the flag. That's not the way to address problems.
Right.
There is no law, no constitutional grounds that says you cannot burn a flag.
Okay.
But it's just not the right thing to do.
Right.
There's a lot of things that you could do, but we choose not to do.
Okay.
You know. And we could choose not to fly flags, but we choose to fly them. You know, but we need to choose to be patriots, I believe, and to show respect to the flags. On Flag Day, which is June 14th, our group and many other groups across the country, it doesn't have to be just on Flag Day, receive flags that are tattered and discolored. You can see that this grommet has
Yeah, it's
made
really worn.
the white part dingy, and see how it's folded there.
Yes. Oh yeah.
See the end is frayed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you get a flag that's served its purpose, talk about flags serving.
Right. Okay.
We treat flags as if they're an individual. This isn't a very solemn ceremony. There's a lot of inspection of flags to make sure that they are completed, that they're not a brand new flag is being destroyed, wasted in its service time. And these flags are then placed on a fire to get rid of them, to honorably get them taken
Retired.
out to retire. It's a flag burning like you would see on the news where somebody's passed. Right. It is totally respected of the flag. It's taken time to do it correctly. We do it inside of a fort. And the reason I like going inside the fort is some bystander doesn't go by and say, this group's burning flags. Right. And not understanding that we really have a ceremony that's required in the flag code of America. So we do see a flag be folded up. Sure. Okay, Reagan, we do it. And I'd like you to hold this part. And I'm going to move out here. Okay. Or we can do it like this.
Oh, this is good. Yep.
Okay. So let's hold it out. Go ahead. Yeah, hold it out. Here's a whole American flag. And you can see that it has had rough times, but it has served our country honorably. So now, get this end over here. We're going to, you stand back there because I put tight. Okay, put your ends together. Line things up, and then I want to put the stripes up.
Okay, stripes up.
That was, we folded it once. Okay, now stay back there.
Pull it tight.
It's not tight. Now we're going to fold again, hands together. Okay. You get to hold it with two hands.
Yep.
Hold it securely. Now you see how it's in here? It's not tight. So we got to get it tight. And then you start from the stripes in, and you fold and make triangles. This is difficult to start here because the ragged.
Right.
There's a reason I need this fold. That was one. Let's see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. 7. That we're not gonna do it bad.
You did. Restart.
You need to stay there.
Hold.
More tight. It's going to start. Okay. Okay. Put your hands together. Okay.
Stripes up.
Now you're coming to me. Stay back there. 2 hands.
There you go.
Okay. Now we're going to put together.
Got to keep it. Okay.
Okay.
Now hold back. There you go.
You're moving toward me. Back up.
You can tell because you're coming off of the.
Hold tight. This first triangle is hard to do because it's so ragged. I think I've done a better job this time. Keep holding.
So you definitely would want to redo, like if you're messing up in the middle of it, you want to just start over because it's not worth it. You want to get it, especially all this respect that you've given to the flag, and then just to halfway do it is not the best idea. You know, it's pretty.
Okay. So now we're close to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to fold this up in, but
Okay.
this won't fold up very well.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you fold it like this,
Down. Okay.
and then you stick it up in there.
Tuck
And
it in.
Reagan, we've done a pretty good job. We started out, we had trouble, but we went and redid it. And
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
now Ryland's going to do one with us.
Okay.
But I want to tell you about where this flag's going to go.
Okay.
We're going to take this flag to a funeral home, to a mortuary. And we're going to let them have this flag because it's tattered and it served this country well. There are some veterans who, when they pass, would like to have a flag with them, but they want to be cremated, so they don't have the flag that can be draped over a casket. And so we're going to take this to funeral home, and as that person is being cremated, they'll have the flag right with them. And the flag will be, again, placed to fire, just like the veteran that served,
Mm-hmm.
just like the flag that served our country well. And so we are taking these flags, they're a little bit tattered, and the funeral homes then can have the veteran who gave his life to our country, maybe didn't get killed in the time,
Mm-hmm.
but did give part of his life in service to our country, can be cremated with the flag that he served.
Yeah.
So we'll do that. Now, I've
So
got some
local
others.
funeral homes ask for those sort of things, or?
Well, this idea came to me, a youngster, a early teenager, came up with this idea because cremation is being encouraged by our governments more and more.
Uh-huh.
And so he came up with the idea that, yeah, why can't we have flags that are cremated with veterans?
Mhm.
And I just thought, since we're in the flag business here in the SLR, that would be something that we could contribute to the funeral homes.
Yeah.
The United States government provides a very nice flag to the family of veterans who passed.
Right.
And they certainly want to keep that as a memento.
Right.
So we're going to use these flags that are tattered a little
Mhm.
bit, but still look pretty good when they're folded.
Oh, yeah. So you're retiring it with the person.
person.
Yeah, that's neat.
So we try to do that.
Yeah.
All right, Ryland, are you ready to help? Again, I have the flag folded. And get a hold of that in there for just a moment. Remember, it's not going to hit the ground. I'm going to trade you side. You know to stand still when after Reagan so much. So get the top and the bottom both. Okay, and get back here on the. Now this flag is going to be a little easier to do. It's not as tattered.
Okay.
The problem with this flag is that this color has faded. That's
Yeah.
almost a purple color now, isn't it?
Right.
And so somebody decided that, well, here's another thing. I think it's not white there. Something has rusted
Mhm.
onto it or something. So it served this country's purpose. And I'm sure the person that donated this flag replaced it with a brand new flag.
Right.
So if you will, hands to hands, pull tight,
Stripes up. Look, I'm learning.
pull. All right, hand to hand.
Use your muscles. Good job.
This way. There, very good. This flag's real easy to fold. It's not that Reagan wasn't very good at it. Triangle was easier to make. Hold tight. Pull it to you.
So you just keep folding over a triangle and triangle.
I hate to
triangle.
take the seriousness this away, but if you ever played paper football in school, this is how you fold
Right,
paper
right.
football.
So if you have your own flag that you wanted to retire, or if you think it served its purpose, I mean, how do you go about, would you fold it like this and then take it somewhere, find a local group that was doing what you do? I mean, you guys retire flags, so you do it for people, which is kind of neat. I know you partner with a local pharmacy,
Yes.
Fruits Pharmacy. So some people may know that company, or if not, maybe in your area, you could even, you went in and approached them, right?
Yes.
So during the summer, it seems like people are starting to retire flags. Even right now, they may have gone to get a new flag for Memorial Day. And so as they retire them, the Truce or the company has decided if you bring in your old flag, we'll give you a percentage off. Yeah,
Yes.
if you buy it from them, which is cool. It helps them. But then also you collect all those flags, and then your group retires them in the special ceremony on Flag Day. So how would someone else go about? I mean, do they just bring them in? However, should they fold them? What if they don't know?
If they don't know how to fold them, they can bring them in, and we'll fold them.
Right.
Now, I'm not talking about the SAR only.
Right.
I'm saying whoever receives them would take care of them properly. You may not have an SAR group around, but they'd be glad to take it. If you don't know about that, I'm sure that in communities, American Legion,
Right.
Veterans of Foreign Wars,
Mm-hmm.
Boy Scouts
Yes.
are groups that participate with this. They've helped us do our flag retirement ceremony in the past. My wife is a member of a national organization for government elected officials, and they provided boxes that we have put in our libraries in our county that the flags can be placed in anytime, and then we go around prior to Flag Day, which is when we do our retirement, and collect them and put them in there. We receive a lot of them that are folded already, and many that aren't, but we take all of them and make sure that they are retired properly with respect.
Great. Okay.
There's a list of days that you would typically fly flags if you don't fly them all the time. Any holiday would be a day that you would do it. There are several holidays that aren't on the calendar where everybody gets off, but any day of respect that you want to fly the flag, it's good.
But if you choose to fly a flag, I have this question, because I think it seems like a big responsibility, because there are different holidays. Even like Governor DeWine has even said a few days that Ohio should go to half mast for different things and events. So it's also a responsibility, right? Like if you are going to fly a flag, then you need to make sure that you're paying attention. Where would you find that information?
Well, there's a company that sells flags that I bought flags from in the past, and I'm on their website.
Yeah.
They put out announcements.
Okay, so they even email you or something?
Yeah, they would email me. Now, it won't come from individual state requirements.
Right.
It would come from federal requirements across the country.
Right.
And I would say this too, it's not like you have to be that worried about it. When the president calls for the flags to be at half mast, or a governor does, it applies to the buildings that have flags that are federal buildings or state-owned buildings. Okay. It doesn't require that.
So when I'm driving by your house, I'm just going to say, oh, he must not know. Like, I'm not going to say, wow, that guy is disrespectful.
Might choose not to do what the governor says to, or the president.
So complying with that is also like a nod to saying I respect what you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
And respect is a great word in using as we deal with the flag.
Right.
It's not that you don't have to do it, but it's something that shows that you do honor our country.
Right. Okay. Well, I don't know. Did you have something else, or should we ask if anyone has any questions or
I'll entertain questions.
Anything about the flag? Or does this even sound like a good idea, where I'm thinking about, local libraries and places that if PALS in general wanted to collect flags, that would be another thing that they could participate in. There's lots of ways to show respect and honor to flags. I know I saw a comment on here from someone saying, I think it was Kristen, that their grandpa was in the war. And so sometimes the flag brings out that memory of, like, yes, like there was honor in our family and service and that history. Does anyone have any questions or anything you want to know or see more about the flag? I think it's really interesting. I didn't realize that you can fly any type of flag that was created over the course of our history. So it's not just a flag, the flag with the stars that are in a circle
Well, you would have,
versus.
in our case, you would have pride in being the state of West Virginia, and you would fly the 35-star flag.
Okay.
Not only be proud of our country, but would be proud of becoming the state.
Right.
It's become. And there's something else if you want to back up or pan over here. The flags are to our right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, you're into
The
this.
flag, what you want to do is think of it as a person
Okay.
looking out to the audience.
Okay.
And so the flag is on the right, and it's on its right looking. And that's
The proper way to do it.
it's the position of prominence.
Oh, okay. So it's your honored guest. Like you're
Yes.
acting like it is a person, you said earlier. So I've never thought of it that way either.
So that helps you decide where it should go.
Okay.
Does it go over here? Does it go over there?
Right. Yeah, you walk into a building and someone, I'm sure they were trying their best to say, where does that go? But you don't need an interior decorator to say what looks best on this side. The goal is that it would be the honored guest sitting to the right of, if it was you leading the ceremony, it'd be to your right. Okay.
In the pandemic where you can't go to church and different churches have put their services online.
Uh-huh.
I noticed one church that I knew people that went to it, had their American flag on the wrong side.
Uh-huh.
And so I called one of the people, a relative that was there, and said, the flag needs to be on the right side. And they said, well, we have done some rearranging at the church. You put it on the incorrect side.
Uh-huh.
And so the next time I saw them on TV,
they had fixed it. That's great.
Talking about the veterans, if they are not cremated and they're in their casket,
Uh-huh.
and then it's proper to drape a flag over top of the casket. The union, the blue part, goes over top of their heart.
Okay.
So it will be on the left side, the blue part
Mm-hmm.
will be on the left side, and the stripes that are on the bottom will be on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
To cover the union, all the states, to cover their heart.
Okay.
So
So when they lower it, is it still on there? They leave it
No.
like okay.
No,
You
never
fold it,
bury the
right?
flag.
Okay. Okay.
The flag is, and this is a really touching ceremony if you're ever involved in a veteran being buried. The flag is on the casket. The service that's held at the graveside would be done.
Mm-hmm.
And then military men would take the flag off, and they would fold it in front of the crowd.
They usually have that taps playing too, and that gets you every time.
Yeah.
That song
Yeah.
gets you.
And then this would be presented to the closest relative.
Yes. So the mother, or it's the wife or
Be a
child.
mother, if it's maybe someone in the service. It could be the wife if it's life
Right.
died. It could be children if the spouse has passed. So that's something that's real touching as well. Also, to military ceremony, they will fire a gun salute.
Yes.
And they'll fire 21 shots.
What's that? Why it's 21?
That's just the protocol that they use.
Okay.
21 shots. And then the brass contained load fired ejected from the weapon. That will go to the family as well. They'll be picked up off the family. And you mentioned taps, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how we're doing for time, but I know a story about how taps was.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us that story? And we'll wait for Aaron or Jonah to come end us out here with any questions.
Okay. In the time of the Civil War, there was a young man who wanted to study music, and he lived in Ohio. And the place that he went to study music was in South Carolina. Now, this was prior to the Civil War breaking out. So he was in South Carolina when the Civil War broke out, was drafted, made to be in the Confederate Army.
Okay.
And his father was in the Union Army. So there was a battle, and it lasted into the night. And the father, being on the Union side, heard people out in the middle of the two lines suffering and dying. And he felt badly. So it was dark, and he went out and he found somebody who was moaning in their last minutes of life, really. They didn't know that. Brought him into camp, and the person had passed before they got him into camp. They lit a lamp, and to the, utter just surprise of the father, it was his son who was the one that he had drugged in from the battle, who was
Wow.
wounded and passed. He asked his leader of the Union Army if they could have a military ceremony before they buried him, and because he was an enemy, no, he couldn't do that, but he would allow them to play one song before they buried him as a tribute to the young man.
Uh-huh.
Well, he knew he had gone to the South to study music, and so going through his pockets, he found music, and he gave that to the bugler to play.
Wow.
And it was taps.
Really?
It was taps. And that's the first time that was played at a funeral, and has become a great tradition in our
Wow. I did not know that. That's a neat story. Sad, but what a great tribute to his son. And then to think of how you never know what's going to like continue on past yourself. And I even think that's like a good lesson for PALS. I mean, it's much bigger than ourselves, you know, and we're always going beyond who we are in this very moment. We're reaching generation after generation. So yes, I love it. All right. So that is live from really West Virginia, but this is from PALS Gallia. So we've got our history lesson today on the American flag and just thinking about Memorial Day. So yeah, thanks guys.
Hey, Ed, have you ever heard, is there any version of Side Boys in the Army? I know it was kind of a naval thing where senior officers would walk through kind of like a set of enlisted.
America.
I think he froze up there.
Yeah, you cut out real bad on us too, so we couldn't hear you either.
So I was asking, is there a Army version or some sort of
At the beginning
version of what's called Side Boys, where a senior officer is walking through kind of a row of
taps?
Because I know, I'm not sure if Aaron's still with Phil. One of the great Aaron, is Phil there with you?
He's actually, I'm watching him cut the grass out front right now, so he's getting ready for his next segment.
Oh, well, so there was a great old a story when I was on one of the bigger ships. So when the old times in the Navy and the Coast Guard cutters and all that, when they were trying to bring people up, there was certain times when we would have to, if we had senior officers come through, we would have to put a gangplank over on the pier, and that was where people could walk up on the ship. And we would have rows of people on either side that the officers would walk through. And so for a commander, you would have 4 people that they would walk through, and for a captain, they would have 6, and for an admiral, you would have 8. And so they would walk through, and you guys would all salute as the person walked through. And the history behind it was actually hoisting the officers up to the ship. And the older the officer, the higher the officer, usually the bigger the officer, because officers ate pretty well, considering, in the Navy. So when they were lifting a commander, it might take 4 able-bodied seamen pulling them up, and a captain might take 6, and an admiral would take like 8 people to pull them up. So I always thought that was a pretty cool historical meaning behind something that we still do to this day, tradition-wise. So Aaron,
Side Boys? You call it
Side Boys? Yeah, ask it. We'll have to ask Phil about it when he comes back in.
Right, he's about to join us here soon, so that's perfect timing. I like it. Great question, Jenna. Thank you. Okay, everyone, that concludes Gallia County. We can't thank Ed and Brooke enough for what they've done the last few weeks. I've been studying history for a long time, and Ed's given me more information the last 3 or 4 weeks than I might have had, my whole life. So can't thank him enough for everything he's done to give us great content right now on PALS TV during, a very unique time. So they've been fantastic. We're grateful for all they do on here, and we will see them again next week. So thanks again, Ed and Brooke, for your time. Take another short break here and head back to Columbus and join Professor Phil for his weekly book club session in about 15 minutes. So come back and join us soon, everyone.